Hey, wake up. I know it's Monday. Let's go. Come on, we got to start World War III. It's on the cusp. Why not? What else are we doing this weekend? David Hamilton's going to kick off the show. He's from America's First Future Series. And listen, David, that was the top story over the weekend, the meeting between Trump, J.D. Vance, and Zelensky. It was the talk of all the Sunday talk shows. It was the opening skit in Saturday Night Live. Historically speaking, when we look back in 3 to 5 years, I don't think we'll remember this meeting for 1 second, but it certainly seems to be like the most important thing going on in the world right now.
Yeah, it is a big deal in one way, but I think everyone needs to stay focused on really 3 things. One, friends fight. We've had fights with our family members. When things are stressful, the stakes are high. People argue. They sometimes speak across each other instead of listen. So, but they have to. You dust yourself off and you go back to the table, and that I believe is going to happen because it has to happen. For those who don't seem to think this war has to end, I don't have anything nice to say to them. At some point, we have to figure out something, and I've been on your show for almost 2 years now saying that we have to come up with some form of negotiated settlement. And if you don't have an answer for that, you need to sit down and let the adults, do the talking. Let's come up with a way to end this war. Secondly, this is really all about territory. This is simply an argument about how much territory will Russia keep. The eastern part, the Donbass, the Donetsk part, is Russian ethnically and linguistically. And that part has wanted to secede for a long time. Russia's going to keep some part of it. We want the Ukraine to keep as much as they can for this rare earth mineral deal because a lot of those minerals are in that eastern part, in the Donbass. So we are aligned that way. We want Ukraine to get as much as they can, but Zelensky has had a hardline rule, which is they will give up no territory. They will give up. They will go back to their pre-war borders. That's not going to happen. And the last thing I'll say is we have to stay focused on the idea that the real enemy is not Russia, it's not Ukraine, et cetera, and this region doesn't matter as much as the East, as China. And we have to stop fighting each other while China sits back and laughs at us and, fuels this proxy war. So we've got to figure out a way, Russia and Ukraine, at least neutral to each other, and we all have to become friends because our mutual enemy ultimately is China.
Well, I like the idea of sitting out and letting the chips fall where they may, because if Zelensky really wants to win this war, he can't. It just hasn't happened. No one wins a land war against Russia. Just right. Napoleon, Hitler, Kaiser Wilhelm. It's just not going to happen. So the sooner we just wrap this up, the better, because this is what we did in Afghanistan. We kicked the Taliban out, spent trillions of dollars, thousands of lives. So 20 years later, they could be replaced with the Taliban. So we're going to kick Russia out of the Donbass, spend trillions of dollars and how many Ukrainian lives, just so at the end, Russia can have the Donbass.
Yeah, and, at the end of the day, I don't have any other way to say this. This has to end. We're talking about World War III as if it's, a nonchalant weekend thing, like you said, something to be a skit on Saturday Night Live. This has to end, and we've always talked about no Ukraine in NATO and no Russia in Ukraine. Those are the fundamental elements of this negotiation. And this is a negotiation. Sorry, Z, this is part of it. We're pulling back. You've taken a hard line approach. We're going to pull back, and we'll see, if you want to negotiate. You have to be willing to walk away from a deal in order sometimes to get one. And that's just the stage that we're at. We're all going to get back to this table because we have to.
I feel like this is causing us to take our eye off the ball on other foreign policy issues, because the Palestinian-Israeli conflict's still going on right now. But also, it bothers me that I haven't heard any updates on the China-Taiwan situation or China and their interference in Hong Kong. And like you said, they're the real people we have to worry about, and we're not really paying a lot of attention to them.
And to be perfectly honest, I believe that this is part of their strategy. They're very happy that we're having this public argument and this fight, and all these lives are being wasted, all this material is being wasted, this money is being spent. Some of it's being put in the hands of corrupt people. We don't know where all this money is going, right? So China thinks this is great, and we're making China very, very happy while watching us flail around and do this. We have to stop.
No. That's an interesting way to look at it. From China's point of view, Ukraine versus Russia is an internecine Slavic squabble, almost a civil war more than anything else. And for some reason, USA and all of our allies, we're just throwing billions at this garbage and time and effort. You're right. They got to be loving this.
Yeah, when they spend their money on other things, infrastructure, espionage, finding ways to steal our IP, they spend their money on ways that we can't even fathom. They build 60 miles of 8-lane highway a day. We can't fix potholes.
Yeah, I hear you on that one. All right, don't you guys have some events coming up? It's March now. Your calendar's starting on America's Future Series.
Yeah, very excited on May 8th. To be having our National Security and Economic Strategy Summit out at Circle T Ranch in Westlake, which you've looked up. Great. I hope you'll come. I have a seat for you. We're planning on honoring the governor. We will have a whole bunch of national security, defense leaders, military leaders, etc. The event page is out on our website. We're partnering with the University of North Texas, and we're creating a national security center with them.
Well, I will remember that date because, David, that's my birthday.
Okay, well, I'll have a cake for you.
No. Don't do the cake. Don't do any presents. That's embarrassing. I'm too old. All that stuff embarrasses me.
As long as you don't sing, you're happy?
Oh, please, yeah, and at the restaurant, do not ever have the wait staff come sing to me. I never, ever, ever want that. All right, thank you very much, David Hamilton. Appreciate it.
Bye now.
David Hamilton, America's Future Series. Go check him out online. Hey, so, there was a lot of consternation, and I'll play some of the clips coming up about the Trump-Zelensky visit. Can you believe he got upset because Zelensky wasn't so thankful? Can you believe he abruptly ended the meeting and kicked him out? Do you know the same thing happened in 2022? Oh, yeah, I got the receipts. You'll hear them in 4 minutes on The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Let's get into the Zelensky-Trump meeting fallout. I want to play just some of the reaction here, just to set the context here before I play the flashback clip. Alexander Vindman says Trump should apologize to Zelensky for saying he wasn't thankful enough.
President Trump owes Zelensky an apology for the way he was treated.
Oh, yeah?
For what? I demand it.
What?
I demand that they give
you demand. Okay, this
UN resolution number 2. If you're going to go ahead and say preposterous things like Zelensky owes an apology for being attacked, I'm going to go ahead and say something outrageous. Actually, I'm going to go.
The price of you saying that Ukraine wants peace.
I think J.D. Vance should resign.
J.D. Vance should resign, and Trump owes him an apology. This is Alexander Vindman. He was in the Biden administration. He has a lieutenant colonel background, but he ended up being in the National Security Council or whatnot. So we have a Biden administration top-level official saying that. All right. What's some more of the response here? David Brooks. Trump and Zelensky's interaction was vile. Thanks, David.
I was nauseated. I just nauseated. All my life I've had a certain idea about America.
Nauseated.
That we're a flawed country.
You almost threw up.
We're fundamentally a force for good in the world. That we defeated Soviet Union, we defeated fascism, we did the Marshall Plan, we did PEPFAR to help people live in Africa. And we make mistakes. Iraq, Vietnam. But they're usually mistakes out of stupidity, naivete, and arrogance.
Jesus.
They're not because we're ill-intentioned.
All right. Go back, write that in the New York Times. That's his day job. Let me give you a couple more. Senator Angus King was on 60 Minutes yesterday, and he was saying this whole thing is just a shame. He's just ashamed of
and intelligence committees.
I always try to think of, what's the argument on both sides? I cannot think of a rational argument for pulling our support from Ukraine.
Here, let me give you one more. Oh, yeah. I wanted to play you this one. This one's great because this is a viral video where I don't know what it is on Team Blue. They like to, when they start crying, let's turn on the camera and share this with everybody. I'm having a mental breakdown. I want everyone to see. So this is just some rando dude crying about Zelensky. And he put the music under here. I know you're going to think I did this for effect.
Why don't you wear a suit? Why don't you wear a suit? You're the highest level.
Okay, so he's duetting from the press conference there. That is a reporter asking Zelensky about his suit. Trump never questioned his appearance. In fact, Trump, at a different point in the press conference, says, I'm fine with the way he dressed. I think he looks nice. So Trump said something nice, but this guy has to try so hard to make Zelensky a sympathetic figure that he gets upset because a reporter asked him why he doesn't wear a suit. Now, it's not a ridiculous question. Whenever people are at war, it's quite normal for the guy who's the president of the country to still be wearing a suit. When we were in World War II and they had the conference at Malta, and it's FDR and Churchill and Stalin, aren't they all dressed nice? Are any of them wearing an Under Armour jogging T-shirt? Looks like he's about to go to pitching practice. Is he in the bullpen? Is that where he just came from? But you know he's doing this for show. He likes to look like he just came off the front lines and is taking a breather to come back here and talk to y'all before he goes back to fighting the old communists.
Why don't you wear a suit? Why don't you wear a suit? You're the highest level in this country's office, and you refuse to wear a suit. Just want to see if you own a suit?
You gonna be all right?
This man is fighting for his country.
Is he?
A sovereign nation got invaded. His people are dying. And this talks about him wearing a suit.
It's a legit question.
I hate this country.
Well, then you can leave. Go. Take off. You gonna be okay?
I've never in my life felt like I do right now.
Never? You never felt like this before?
I don't give a what he wears.
Well, you should if he shows up in a bikini.
This man has been respectful to every leader in the world.
You watched all the meetings?
Everybody.
Oh, you saw all the meetings. Okay.
And you clowns want to.
All right. There's a whole nother minute of that. I just feel the clock ticking on me. God, I love the internet. What did we do before X? What did we do before social media? You get to see all these people break down. All right, now, here's the payoff for all that setup. Let's go back in the time machine. Garrett brought the flux capacitor, so we're going to go all the way back 3 years to 2022. NBC News had a report on a meeting, a confrontation, really, between Biden and Zelensky, where Biden thought Zelensky wasn't what? Thought he wasn't thankful enough for the aid he's receiving, and abruptly ended.
Yeah, that's right, Kate. So in this conversation, President Biden called President Zelensky to tell him about a roughly $1 billion package of additional equipment and weapons for the Ukrainian military coming from the United States. During the course of the call, President Zelensky continued, according to a number of officials who we spoke with who were familiar with the call, President Zelensky continued to talk about the additional equipment and weapons and support that he and his military needed. According to these officials, they said that President Biden finally just got frustrated and lost his temper and told President Zelensky, look, you could be a little bit more grateful. The reason that this story is interesting to us and is something that we are reporting on and officials are speaking to us about is because it shows that all these months ago, President Biden already realized that there was going to be a point where the American people, members of Congress, where people would start potentially pushing back on all these billions and billions of dollars of aid and equipment that the U.S. has been providing to Ukraine.
Oh, we got the receipts. You are so busted. Hey, crying guy, did you open up your TikTok and do a crying 2-minute monologue when that happened? When Biden told Zelensky he needs to be a little more thankful? Got perturbed and ended the meeting? Did you cry about that? What about you, David Brooks? Did you say that was vile? Hey, Alexander Vindman, did you demand that Joe Biden apologize to Zelensky? Angus King, Senator Angus King from Maine, were you ashamed of Biden when he did that to Zelensky? Or you only feel shameful when it's your political opposition who does that? Oh, you're all exposed. You're all a bunch of hacks. We have the internet. You're not going to get away with it anymore. We're all just as connected as ever, and we at least have one platform that's not going to censor us this time around. So you're not going to get away with this anymore. You're all a bunch of dishonest hacks, and it is so delicious to expose you on the James Show. Have you ever cried at the news? Smacky says on YouTube here that he definitely cried when Leonard Nimoy died. Spock? I mean, of all people, I'm not saying like Spock stinks, but of all the people, okay. This isn't something where I can argue with you. That was your experience. You cried when Spock died. And this comes up because this dude went viral over the weekend for crying about Zelensky. And I don't know if I saw this more from my lefty friends who were passing this along unironically as if this makes them look cool or good or persuasive to the undecided voter out there. Or my conservative friends who were passing this around laughing, saying, look at how unhinged these little babies are, these little cupcakes, crying over the meeting about Zelensky. Now, the meeting about Zelensky, whether you were bothered by it or not, I just played you an example of 3 years ago. Almost the exact same thing happened between Biden and Zelensky. There was a meeting. It ended abruptly. Biden ended the call and saying he should have been more thankful for the aid he was getting. We didn't see the crying. We didn't see the gnashing of teeth. We didn't see the wailing. And so this just speaks of, this is just performative art. This is virtue signaling. This is just performance based. For one thing, if I ever want to give my commentary on an issue on TikTok or social media, or like I'm on Facebook and YouTube and whatever right now, I would stop crying before I started the video. I wouldn't do the video while I was crying. I would make sure, like, look, let me clean all this up so I don't look like a crazy person that's just crying into my phone. But these people are intentionally doing it when they cry. And I think this is nothing more than performative virtue signaling. I don't even think this dude is upset about the Zelensky situation. He just wants other people to see this and think, oh, man, he's so involved and he just cares so much. What a great guy. I guess I want to take him out for dinner at a vegan restaurant, or I don't know.
Why don't you wear a suit? Why don't you wear a suit? You're the highest level in this country's office and you refuse to wear a suit. Just want to see if you own a suit?
This man is fighting for his country. The sovereign nation got invaded. His people are dying.
Do the dramatic pause.
Talks about him wearing a suit.
What is this, a Michael Bay movie?
I hate this country.
Like the end of Independence Day? Right. They may take our lives.
I've never in my life felt like I do right now.
Never in your life? Never been to a funeral or anything? Never been upset? Never got kicked in the nuts?
What he wears.
Oh.
This man has been respectful to every leader in the world. Everybody. And you clowns want to do that to him when he comes over here.
What, the guy in the Under Armour shirt?
And then talk to him like and kick him out of the White House.
That's how my wife talks to me when I wear cargo shorts. I've never been that upset at the news. Have you? 800-288-9227. Glenn and Colleen, you're on WBAP. What do you think?
Well, I don't normally cry at like typical news, but when you see the military people coming home, greeting their kids, yeah, that's a little tough.
Man, so the big difference is like not just seeing the flag draped coffins coming off the plane, but seeing the parents, and sometimes there's like a widow or even a kid standing there. Yeah, that's a pretty big gut punch right there.
Yeah. Big time. But yeah, I do cry at the news sometimes. We'll admit it.
Yeah. Well, were you on the verge of
bad card? But you know what I mean.
Hey, no, you're allowed. I'm not arguing with anybody on this one. But if the Zelensky meeting on Friday made you cry, I think you might need to buck up a little bit. Not you, Ken. I'm just saying.
That didn't make me cry at all. Actually, I was kind of glad that Trump held his ground.
Right. Most of us were kind of giggling at it. Thank you very much, Glenn. Let's try Hayden in Arlington. You're next up on WBAP. What do you think?
Hey, how's it going, man? Yeah, last time I cried in the news, I was like a kid watching 9/11. I mean, I don't really get very emotional about the news. As Glenn just said, man, people watching military people come home, that's always a little bit of a tearjerker, heroes of the country. But whenever it's something as trivial as watching leaders squabble, I mean, like him, I was just kind of chuckling at it. I was laying in a hospital bed at the time. I was just dying. But it was hilarious. And I myself crying over that. It's just comedic.
Yeah. You know what?
Sit there and be disrespectful.
You get 3 points for Hayden. I think we all cried when 9/11 happened, or at least at some point. So that's legit. Thank you, Hayden. I'll even admit that one. I'm a pretty heartless fellow. Thomas in Dallas, you're on WBAP. What do you think?
Hey, James. Hey, long-time listener, first-time caller here. Yeah, I don't typically cry at news either, but when that story on Uvalde, the mass shooting, 19 children lost their lives, or whatever the number was, I did shed a tear there for them and their families.
Here's the weird part, though. In the Las Vegas shooting at the Jason Aldean concert, 56 people died. Did you cry?
No.
Yeah, see, and that's legit. Like, I can't tell you when you can and can't cry. Thank you for sharing. Right. But yeah, that's a tough one too. It's a weird thing being a human being. Doesn't always follow a logical path. Coming up next, Raven Harrison's going to be on to talk more about Trump-Zelensky and the political situation in D.C. If you got any comments, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. My next guest, regular political commentator, guest on the James Show, and soon to be Congresswoman, Raven Harrison, back on. Hey, Raven.
Hey, James.
So I was playing this the viral video of the guy crying about the Zelensky meeting, and then a handful of other people who were saying like this is vile or Trump owes him an apology or whatever. Did you hear the section? And I'll play this for the people who didn't hear it in the first hour. Someone was passing around an NBC News clip from 2022 about a similar Biden confrontation with Zelensky where he didn't think he was thankful enough. And hang on a second. Let's hear this real quick.
Yeah, that's right, Kate. So in this conversation, President Biden called President Zelensky to tell him about a roughly $1 billion package of additional equipment and weapons for the Ukrainian military coming from the United States. During the course of the call, President Zelensky continued, according to a number of officials who we spoke with who were familiar with the call, President Zelensky continued to talk about the additional equipment and weapons and support that he and his military needed. According to these officials, they said that President Biden finally just got frustrated and lost his temper and told President Zelensky, look, you could be a little bit more grateful.
Oh, my goodness, Raven.
Yes.
I didn't see this guy. I didn't see anybody crying into their phone about that. I didn't see David Brooks or Alexander Vindman say that Biden owes Zelensky an apology or they want World War III or they're the dumbest, biggest idiots ever. That's so weird, Raven.
Yeah, it is weird. It's really, if you really want it, I think I have the best recap on my TikTok right now. I put the Mortal Kombat music to it. It's awesome. But I tell people, this is what I want to remind people. And again, I expect the people who are extreme left to do this. It doesn't matter what, Trump does. If Trump cures cancer, they're going to say they have the right to die of cancer. This is what they always do. We all watched that. Okay. We all know. We even had the Ukrainian interpreter interpret of, I don't know if I'm calling him a
B word.
Yeah, the B word. Thank you. Trying to stay in the green. But yeah, those kind of things. And then let's just cap it real quick, James. Zelensky owns 15 mansions. He has 3 private jets, and he makes $11 million a month. That money is not funding the war. That money is funding the dictator, which he is. He canceled elections. He has rounded up. He's gotten rid of all the media except for one state-sponsored, and he is prosecuting Christians. There are journalists that have been killed. I mean, this guy is the quintessential dictator. We cannot support any kind of freedom and republic and democracy and be funding this little dictator. But that's his annual pay. That's just for him.
All right, so I imagine that he's going to come to the deal, he's going to come to the table, take the deal, and no one's going to criticize him for it.
I don't know that he can, James. The issue is the fact that if what Britain and UK, because, he ran straight out of, the U.S. and grifted right across the ocean. But the problem is that he supposedly signed a deal with the UK. If he has inked a deal for minerals with the UK, even though it was really poorly thought out, because, just for those who are listening, UK alone, you're talking about a total army of 160,000. They don't have the ammunition. They don't have the men on the ground. And that's everybody in the army. That's including the cooks and the radar technicians. They don't have the resources to fund a war like that. So whose children are they sending to die? So I just want to remind people of that. But if they signed a deal with the UK, I don't know what his plan is to try to sign one with us.
So they act like we got to stay in this war, or what was the David Brooks quote? It'll be the biggest foreign policy mistake of our lifetime or in American history. Or what are the negative consequences if we get out of Ukraine completely?
I think that, this is a good opportunity of whether we should get out of NATO, we should get out of Ukraine, but Trump is working toward peace. And again, this is the typical leftist. We want to be at war. This is an unwinnable war. They cannot win this war. So we are throwing good money after bad. He's already said he can't account for $100 billion. I mean, it's not like, hey, that's $20 I dropped on the ground. He can't account for $100 billion, James. So they're literally kidnapping Ukrainian men off the street, and the left is completely silent about this. We're kidnapping people and sending them to the front lines to die. In this, he wants to keep the war going. He's sending drones into Russia. This is not the side we want to be on. And if Russia starts turning off the heat and all the gas they're providing to Europe, this is not a good position. It's not a good look for Zelensky.
All right, let's talk about you running for Congress. What's that like? You have to fill out paperwork and stuff already?
Yes, we fill out the paperwork so that the deep state can get the smears ready. But, we are ready for that. I am going to be funded by we the people, and I'm really excited. They're ready for their government back. Trump took a bullet, and I'm here to make sure that you guys don't have to.
Right on. All right, how can people help out, Raven?
Tell them to go to ravenharrison.com, and just remember, guys, every little bit helps. Even a $25 a month helps. Help us fight this war. Help me keep on the front line.
Thank you very much. There she is, the great Raven Harrison on The James Show. Thank you, Raven.
Thank you, James.
If 60 Minutes had been produced by the government of Ukraine, they wouldn't have changed one word of this reporting yesterday. They were, last week they were giving you the rundown on how, children are going to starve to death or die of AIDS or something on the other side of the planet if we cut 1 cent from USAID. And then this week they were kind of doing the same thing, but just focused on Ukraine. And they got into such a level of depth where I think they thought they were helping the cause, when they were actually, if they had any brain about what goes on outside of their bubble, they would know that this is terrible for your cause. This makes people want to pull out of Ukraine faster, talking about how much we're subsidizing, not their military effort, not just humanitarian issues. We're not just sending them blankets and penicillin. We're subsidizing their entire economy. Listen, this is 60 Minutes. Not just Wait. Where's that coming from? Okay. I had double audio there.
Third.
All right, I'll start it over. 60 Minutes last night. You're subsidizing the snot out of Ukraine's economy.
Russia's invasion shrank Ukraine's economy by about a third. We were surprised to find that to keep it afloat, the U.S. government is subsidizing small businesses.
Hang on. When they say the U.S. government is subsidizing small businesses, what they mean is you are subsidizing small businesses. Just in the way, like, over the weekend, there's a little part on on Miss Parker's car that was broken. She had the check engine light. She took it in, got the diagnostic. We got the little piece. And me and my son spent about 2.5 hours trying to get to the spot to where we could get the little piece out, and we couldn't get it unhooked. And it was worth the time and effort, because taking it into the shop means they're going to do it, but they'll charge you $200 for labor or something goofy like that. But money is so tight right now that it was worth me wasting half of my Sunday afternoon, because that is how tight all of our budgets are right now. Your groceries went up 30% in the last 4 years. Yet you had money to send to Ukraine. You had money to subsidize not their war effort and not like the humanitarian crisis, but just their economy, just so they can go out and have recreate and have a good nightlife and keep the little small businesses afloat. That you're subsidizing that. So whenever they say the U.S. taxpayers are subsidized, this came out of your backside.
This government is subsidizing small businesses. Like Tatiana Abramova's knitwear company.
We realize that it's the aid from governments, but it's the aid from the heart of every ordinary American person.
How do you feel about that?
Grateful. Great.
In total, America's pumped nearly $25 billion of non-military aid into Ukraine's economy since the invasion began.
So has it ever been that, do you own a small business? Have you ever worked for yourself? You ever been self-employed? You know anyone who does? You have a sibling, a kid, maybe one of your parents is self-employed? Have they ever been struggling in their restaurant and then all of a sudden they got a check from the Ukrainian government? Have you ever seen like your local favorite restaurant struggling to stay afloat and eventually they have to shut down? But oh no, they were saved because of the generous taxpayers of Poland or Belarus or Estonia or anywhere else on planet Earth. How come people are never bailing you out, but you're bailing other people out? How come people are never coming and running to your aid, American taxpayer, but you're expected to, what was that, a knitting boutique? You couldn't see the video, but she's in like a boutique, like if you're in Highland Park Village or if you're in one of these goofy like little walk-in shops at Bishop Arts District or Deep Ellum or Lower Greenville, you know. It was somebody, oh, she has a knitting business. Oh, I'm glad my groceries went up 30% so we could save a knitting business in suburban Kiev. Is this really the most judicious use of your taxpayer dollars? This is what we have. If we pull this back, then I'm on Putin's side. Oh, yeah. Is that Putin has just a grinding grudge against the knit shop in Ukraine? Well, I'm glad they have a nice nightlife. I'm glad these guys didn't have to worry about losing their job. Meanwhile, we're just getting laid off left and right for COVID or God knows what. Does that make you feel better about yourself? Does that make you feel better about USAID and the tax money that's going out to Ukraine? They aired that unironically as a selling point for supporting Ukraine. I came across with the exact opposite intent of what they had. That makes me want to, we can't withdraw from Ukraine fast enough. I know most of the WBAP listeners out there didn't watch Saturday Night Live on Saturday, but I did. And the opening skit was a mock-up of the Zelensky-Trump-Vance meeting in the White House. Mikey Day was Zelensky, and he's wearing the plain long-sleeve T-shirt with some cargo pants. And then they had Mike Myers come in to play Elon Musk. Yeah, Mike Myers, like Wayne's World Mike Myers, like Austin Powers Mike Myers. And he did a good one. It was pretty funny. They did not actually make fun of Zelensky, though, because they're gutless. And that's okay. They can still be funny in other ways. But, you know, it's good to see like this sort of consciousness or this focus on politics, so much so that it's invaded not just Saturday Night Live when they want to say Orange Man bad, all Team Red is bad and racist and stupid. But we're getting into some like second, third level nuance type topics here. And this is for sketches on Saturday Night Live. So I kind of like that. And now the problem with making fun of Elon Musk is you can't make him an idiot. You can make fun of how he talks, and Mike Myers did a funny Elon Musk accent because he does kind of talk weird. I don't know if it's the South African accent. You know, maybe it's just because it's mixed with a little autism spectrum somewhere along there. I don't know if he has trouble with his R's. I don't even know what South African people are supposed to sound like. Like Charlize Theron's like the only other person I know from South Africa. The dude with the butter knives for legs. Remember that guy from the Olympics? These are the only people I know from South Africa. But over here in the real world, if you call Elon Musk dumb, you're off your rocker. You have lost your mind. Elon Musk is dumb? Well, your local congresswoman here from Dallas, Jasmine Crockett, that's what she thinks. He's just dumb.
As it relates to X, he has never made a profit since he bought X. In fact, the value of X is 75% lower than it has ever been. So if I am going to go look for somebody to run a business, I'm going to look for someone who is going to run one successfully. And before people start screaming and yelling about, well, he's a billionaire. Yeah, when you know the right people and they'll just give you money, then you can become a billionaire too. And maybe one day all of us will have that kind of access. But until then.
Yeah, so that's it. Twitter's running in the red, so he must be an idiot. Okay, well, Twitter historically only has like 2 or 3 quarters where they've ever made a profit, going all the way back through their founding. They've been a company that loses money. But, okay, if you focus on the one company he has that's failed, you're really bypassing a huge story there. Because he was one of the guys that was on the beginnings, the infancy of PayPal. Turned out to be something that almost 30 years later, that's how old we are, we're still using it. I paid for something with PayPal last week. I had to go to a soccer shop, and they took PayPal. Can you believe that? They didn't swipe your card. It was either cash, PayPal, or Zelle. Well, Elon was in on that. And he wasn't some guy that was, going to pick up the coffee. He was a developer. He's a coder. He's a software engineer. Then he got picked up in Tesla. Now, he didn't start it, but he got in pretty early and turned it into what it is today. He started SpaceX. So now they're catching and reusing rockets that are falling out of space and turning quite a big profit like that. But it's government contract. So it's not exactly the free market. But the big one I think is Tesla. Because when you look at Tesla, you're like, okay, so he made a profit selling electric vehicles, but he got all kinds of subsidies and he's gotten all kinds of help and push and, it's kind of a trendy thing. Yeah. But compare that to all of the other electric car companies. You know how hard it is to convince the American people they want to overpay by $40,000 for a car that can only go 300 miles at a time? You know how hard it is to make, you know how efficient you have to be? You know how innovative you have to be to make that profitable? Because all these other car companies had access to the same subsidies, the same programs, the same subsidized batteries and technology and tax abatements for factories and plants and whatnot. Let's go through some of them. Ryvid, RYVID, that was an electric car company. You maybe never heard of it because it already went out of business, but it got a ton of your money. Hyliion is in Austin. You quit even trying to make cars. Now they just make the electric generation from green sources, kind of like a middleman component. Nikola, that's the electric car company that was focused on the big rigs. They're based out of Phoenix. They just announced bankruptcy last month. No, wrong button. We weren't celebrating their collapse. Fisker, another big California giveaway company. They're already doing nothing. Canoe was another Cali company that you subsidized for their cars, their batteries, their purchase. Their only client base is the Postal Service and NASA. Their stock price, they're not out of business yet, but their stock price has gone from $200 to $2. That's another electric car company. You probably have heard of Rivian. They're not out of business yet, but they will be soon. But it's not just them. The first electric vehicle manufacturer, the Baker Motor Vehicle Company, rolled out their first electric car. What year was it? What year do you think that Baker made the first electric car in the United States? Do you have a guess? Is it like the 90s? Is it the 80s, 70s, 60s? How about 1899? Top speed of 12 miles an hour. Thomas Edison even bought one back in the day because we were told that was the car of the future, even in the 1800s. Studebaker tried to launch one. Anderson, Detroit Electric Car Company, started to build one in 1907. It was out of business by the 20s. Aptera Motors tried to build a three-wheel electric car in 2005. It already went out of business in 2019. Bright Automotive closed down in 2012. Coda Automotive got $344 million from investors in 2009, including Treasury Secretary Hank Paulson. Guess what? Already out of business. Electric Last Mile Solutions, out of business. Mullen Automotive, an electric car startup that went public in one of those SPAC mergers, out of business. The fact that Elon Musk has been able to make a profit in electric cars is something that has been tried by the greatest automotive minds going back to the 1800s, and this is the first dude to do it. He's not stupid. You may disagree with him, but he's not stupid, right, Ilhan Omar? You wouldn't say he's stupid, would you?
And the retirement thing for air traffic controllers is also, again, it just shows how much he doesn't know. I know people talk about him as a genius, but to me, I think he's probably one of the dumbest, luckiest people to exist on this earth.
That's it. Just the dumbest, luckiest, just an idiot. He's catching rockets that are falling out of space. NASA had 50 years to figure that out with an infinity amount of dollars and all the greatest scientists that they could hogtie from all over the planet. They concentrated them all in Houston, and they couldn't come up with it in 50 years what this dude did in 6 years. So you may disagree with him. He may be your political opposition, but if you're calling him stupid, something's wrong with you.